Hey folks, Studio here, and I have a solemn announcement. This beard, which is making me look like a crazy person, combined with my hair, which will be getting cut very, very soon, will not make it to the end of No Shave November. It will probably make it to November 30th, maybe the day before. But with IPL 5 and the fact that it's getting this really weird like clumping sometimes, which happens when you grow a beard too long, before it like becomes a full beard, it's probably not going to make it. I might have a contest to vote on what beard I end up taking to IPL 5. I do want to go for maybe a Van Dyke, but I don't know, man. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell. Just want to give you that solemn announcement, though, and, well, if you don't like the beard, your day will come soon. As a positive. Also as a negative, because, well, you hating on beards, man. Anyhow, let's talk about Katarina. Why is Katarina awesome? She is really good burst DPS, really good sustained DPS if you get a killer assist, and she murders everybody. Her ultimate, I'd say, is overvalued. It does a lot of damage, but you don't necessarily do just all your damage with the ultimate. You land a Q, you land a W, there are bouncing blades, you're moving fast, you're dealing DPS, your Shumpo's telling you all around, and you're taking reduced damage. You move fast, and you work as two things. Really good kind of in the fray poke, kind of not. It's hard to describe, and that really good cleanup. At the same time, if they don't have any interrupts, or you see their interrupts are all down, you can use your ultimate to great effect and deal crap loads of damage. Or you can use it to like half great effect. If you get 1 second of your ultimate off, usually that's still really good damage. Even a half second is still noticeable. But we're going to combine this with top lane. We're going to look at Katarina top lane in a tournament setting against a lane matchup she's really, really weak against. Let's go ahead, look at this replay. Okay, we got Team Dynamic over here on the red side. Blue side, we got TSM. Who are we going to follow? We're going to follow ZionSpartan. Now I want to give you guys a bit of information about ZionSpartan. Back when people used to consider like Voyboy the most aggressive top laner, ZionSpartan had that same sort of aggression. He would never ever let off in that top lane. So when Voyboy kind of calmed down after switching to CLG, and he's going back towards that aggressive nature now that he's back on Curse, but ZionSpartan never lost that fire. He's always been one of the most aggressive top laners in the world, in the professional scene. He does not give anybody a break. And we're going to see him in a bad lane matchup, and it's going to change his playstyle dramatically. So I really, really like this game because it shows a different perspective from him. Now, Katarina, what does she do? Also, this is awesome. Actually, really quickly, this chase is awesome because they didn't expect the grab to land, because they've been missing, like, they've constantly grabbed into that bush. They haven't hit one in like 20 games. Usually they tickle whoever's right there, but they finally land it, and they just don't expect it. That, and it would have been hard to land, like a hard CC. Anyhow, Katarina in lane. What do you normally do? Well, your main skill to level up is going to be Sinister Steel. Level 1, you probably want to stick with Bouncing Blades, and level 2, Shumpo. The reason for this is Sinister Steel is not very good, like, damage on its own. It's got a really short cooldown. It's great once you start getting points in it, but level 1, unless you try to duke it out in a sustained DPS fight, which top lane you're not going to win, it doesn't do enough. It's 40 damage every 4 seconds. Look at someone like Jace, who's going to have higher damage and a longer cooldown, yes, but still it's going to be hard for Katarina to contend with. But Bouncing Blade is usually your go-to skill at level 1 just because it gives you that ranged presence. Shumpo also does so, but kind of the same thing where it's like, well, you get 1 blink on a 12-second cooldown compared to Bouncing Blade, which is going to be a couple seconds less and does more AoE damage for the lane. So in this case, ZionSpartan heads up top lane, looking for that AoE damage to help clear and the range damage to get those CS. That's going to be very tricky. We can talk about what Katarina does in teamfights. ZionSpartan has a really cool presence in teamfights, and I really love what he does with Katarina. Okay, we're in lane now. What does ZionSpartan do? He got that CS, and he's going to get very few CS at this point. He ran forward trying to, maybe get the experience at least, maybe get some CS. He gets 2 CS, and it takes him half his HP. Dyrus loses a fourth. Actually, ZionSpartan's down to a quarter of his HP. And like, he's still trying to stay forward. He wants to make sure he gets the experience, but I mean, it's hard. You can very clearly see that he just doesn't have the ability to lane against someone like Jace. Actually, Dyrus goes full aggressive, uses his ignite, and just like pressures him to this corner. He just tries to escape. He actually I don't know if you saw that, he delayed till he was going to hit level 2. And when he hit level 2, just like, watch this chase, watch him run around. He's looking for that creep to die, and he hits level 2. And he's like, well, I can try and jump out of there, but he tries to bait Darius off to the side, which he does, and it lets him get a relatively clean escape. His flash is still up, and that's what matters. He wanted to make sure that if he did flash, it would also be Darius blowing his own flash. So it'd be a flash for a flash, which is a very important trade when you're someone like Katarina, who's getting her butt kicked top lane. Also note, he's down to 1 health potion. He's going to be chugging those like crazy. In terms of runes and masteries, he is move speed quintessences, so he stays mobile. And if you look at Jace's move speed, he's much faster than Jace, pre-acceleration gate. And if you look at his ability power, it's not high. It's all about being tanky as Katarina. Now, how does ZionSpartan lane this? What is his goal? Well, the lane is now pushing in his favor. He wants to just sit on his butt. And this will happen with a lot of lanes. Sometimes you just can't get near your creep wave. You'll notice ZionSpartan just moves forward to get experience. Like, Darius is ahead of full level, but with his creep wave, ZionSpartan's not going to be that far behind. But he will be far behind in his CS. So, like, this is his important moment to try and get as much CS as he can. Unfortunately, someone like Katarina doesn't have that much auto attack damage, and Sinister Steel just doesn't have enough damage at rank 1 to really CS safely into the turret. But do know, if he had gone for Sinister Steel at rank 1 or not picked up Bouncing Blade, he'd have even less CS. And actually, if he hadn't picked up Shumpo at level 2, he'd be dead. But this will happen sometimes top lane. Sometimes you'll miss a lot of CS. One of the best solutions to that, once you're being pressured hard, is ask for a jungle gank. But as you can see, sometimes the lane doesn't really work out. Darius was able to walk back in, get some extra poke on, and it's an equal trade. ZionSpartan, out of health potions, took the same damage Darius did, despite the fact that he still has his own, and chugs one is back at full HP and still has some left over. So they try to camp him, they try to pressure him, they do blow a flash out of him, which forces him on the retreat, but overall this lane is still not going well, and this will happen a lot. ZionSpartan just couldn't get enough CS early on, managed to maintain the experience. Like, if you look at it right now, it's a 9 CS difference, but Jace has a huge creep wave in front of him, and Jace is much better at last hitting underneath the turret than Katarina because he has higher AD. So what do you do in a situation like this? Look at this CS difference, 30 versus 15, 5 minutes in. That's relatively significant. If Darius goes back to buy right now, he can get a Doran's Blade, a ward, a potion. If you are someone like ZionSpartan, all you can afford is just the Doran's Shield and potions. And actually, Darius could probably buy maybe 2 Doran's Blades. Like, he has an extra 300 gold, maybe 400 at this point, which is terrifying. So what you do in cases like this is you buy and you kind of scrounge. When you feel comfortable roaming, when you feel comfortable for a jungle gank, that's when you start telling your teammates, hey, I need some help top lane. If you're in a position where you just die, then you have to call for the help right away. Like, you can't wait till you feel comfortable. ZionSpartan wasn't in a position just to die. He could have used his Bouncing Blade to CS, he could have used kind of his ranged poke to keep him in the game, and that's important. Someone like Jax, he is an example of a character who, when he falls really far behind and can't lane, he just kind of dies. Like, how do you CS safely from range as Jax? Irelia is someone who, depending on your skill level, you can make up for that difference with her Blade Surge. Just kind of bounce around all over the place, avoid a lot of damage by staying very mobile. And that's something important to consider in top laners, the ability to recover from being far behind. That's why Jace is super annoying, because Shock Blast and Acceleration Gate are an incredibly good farming tool at any point in the game, and you can't ever shut down Jace. He will always get some CS, he might fall behind, but you're never just going to totally shut him out unless you're much better than him. Now, ZionSpartan, he had full HP, he had potions, and he pressured Darius when he came back to lane. This is one of those bittersweet moments where it's like, yes, you can pressure him, yes, you can kind of take advantage of the fact that he stayed in lane for a while, but it's only because he stayed in lane that he had that advantage. It's not something that's going to last. He's not going to have this 2 minutes from now, 5 minutes from now. The second Jace shows back up in lane, ZionSpartan's behind. And this turns into a very weird game of patty cake where ZionSpartan will go back and buy a lot, and every time he gets some sort of small increment, if he needs more health potions, he'll go back and buy more health potions. Jace, he's never going to really need anything up top because he's so dominant. And that's kind of, if you look at his item build, that's what he's going for. He has mana potions, health potions, and wards, so he plans to sit up and just camp up top here. For someone like ZionSpartan, his goal is going to be get any CS he can. So right here, he goes for golems and actually uses a health potion, I believe, just to recover his HP and go to lane full HP. Which means he doesn't get that much gold overall because it's 60 gold for the golems, 35 gold for the potion, so 25 gold net gain, which is not very much, but he still gets the experience. Zion's goal is now to not win, but keep getting experience to get as much CS as he can, despite the fact that, well, it's gonna be really hard, because Dyrus doesn't let up. But this will happen. Sometimes you can't get any CS, and when you're in that position, you have to call for jungle help quite a bit, or you have to roam to a different lane. If you're in a position where you just cannot get any CS because the other guy will just kill you instantly, something has gone wrong with the pick, or you've fallen too far behind. That can happen. Not every lane is salvageable just on your own. And salvageable doesn't necessarily mean you win. People tend to take the term win a bit too hard. Now this is a fun little gank because ZionSpartan, he gets attacked from Reginald, catches him with a ward, and they go for this big chase. Now, it's important to remember that ZionSpartan had move speed quintessences, he had defensive runes, or masteries, so he moved a little bit faster when he had enough HP, but he's below that threshold now. But despite that, Reginald's movement speed is 382, he can't keep up with Shumpo. Dyrus, it's normally about 360, we saw this before. So, ZionSpartan is able to chase really far out and almost escape that. It's that last second ignite that Reginald had to use to lock him down. Now, we're not going to watch that entire chase again, but watch the initial escape. So one part is ZionSpartan, he knew that Morgana was heading here because of the call from his teammate. It's like, I should put the ward down, try to escape. The first thing he does is just get away. It's like priority number one. And you actually think that Reginald's not going to go for this gank, but this aggressive flash over the wall, this really, really in-your-face chasing out of the turret means that ZionSpartan has to run. And when you're in a situation like this, when you're being chased, you just run away. You get away from the danger. Obviously, he's not going anywhere good right now. He doesn't have a place to Shumpo to. It's going to be the turret that is his escape route, because Intendudex won't be there in time. And actually, he can't really juke to the side because he just has to run. He just has to be moving away from the enemy, which unfortunately means he goes to the turret. Now, I guess we are watching the chase again. He runs through the turret because it's the same principle. There is no escape route. Now this would be such a cool play. It's so good. It's just so close to perfect, but you can use Ignite while silenced. And actually, even if the silence wouldn't last long enough. But that is the framework of a good escape. He ran away from the danger. Sometimes you're going to have to suicide at the turret. That was a possibility, but he decided not to because he still had damage. That enough HP to survive the damage, and it would have gone to somebody. He wasted a lot of time. He tried to go for the escape. It was very close, very admirable. Sometimes you just have to die. Sometimes, though, man up, try to go for that escape, and it was close. That was a really loud Cho'Gath scream. Now, what could have saved him there? If he ran over here, and Intendudex managed to waste their time, he might have been able to escape. It would have been a very big maybe, though. Still, that's hindsight 2020. That's asking if Morgana has Ignite up, which maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. It's one of those things where we can totally call it now, but heat of the moment, no way in hell. Now, he missed a crap load of CS. He missed a lot of golden experience because the creep wave was at his turret, and that's one of the best times to gank, so props to TSM for punishing like crazy. However, at the same time, with that long fight in the jungle, Dyrus also missed quite a bit of CS, and he's maintaining that CS difference. What's the score? 44 to 71. So it's about 25 at this point. Like, it's been the same number for a long time. And that's not good that he's still behind, but it's not bad. It's not that he's falling farther and farther behind. It's not that he's losing control of the lane. Maintaining is all he's going for. And he has to eat a lot of pressure. He gets punished quite a bit. He's been ganked quite a bit. But he's still staying alive, he's still staying relevant to this game. Now, it's important to note that you're never going to come back just from CSing unless you're able to start killing them or they start roaming. So, ZionSpartan, when he pushes up the lane, when he feels that he can't be underneath the turret because it is very dangerous for him to be near that turret when Jace has such good chase potential, he roams around the map. And it's a very cool setup. So I was like, alright, Top's getting pushed, he pushes in mid, he can roam back top and try to pick up that CS. Sometimes this works out, it depends on how heavy the enemy top laner pushes. In this case, Dyrus, he's not letting up. And ZionSpartan's able to pick up a lot of mid CS, stay in that 25 CS threshold, and he just covers top and tries to come back there. Now it's important to note that the reason he could do this was because Takashi X did die. So you can't always do this. You can't always take the mid laner CS, but you have to look for your opportunities. If you roam, you see a chance to get some gold, just clear a wave a few times, it's going to be solid, it's going to be very important to you. Now, he didn't get that much CS top lane. That was because Dyrus was just pressuring him hard. That's a smart trick. If you know they're going to come, if you know you can beat them in a 1v1, and you expect them to come top lane, just camp this bush. Camp the route you think they'll go, not necessarily that bush. It's a smart play because you're just playing on the predictions. You're playing on almost their greed in a way, because you know where they want to go. You know where they want to try and get that gold to get that CS, and if you're blockading them, it's like when someone pulls blue buff from this bush. They walk forward, they attack blue buff, and they walk this direction. A lot of people set up camps right here in this bush. And the reason it works so well is because people aren't going to be safe. They're not going to auto-attack back up through here because you miss a CS if you do that. That's the same principle. You can use that a lot. It's an idea that is really obvious in certain cases. For example, camping Baron buff. You expect people to walk through a certain route, catch them en route, and you can punish them, but it's not applied that much in other places. And it really does work. It can do so much work. Now, we're going to see a team fight break out. We're going to see Katarina, I'd say, in her strongest role. This is going to be just a taste of things to come. It's not a very Katarina-involved team fight, but she's cleanup. She's really strong at cleanup right now. So ultimate comes out from Reginald. They're trying to lock down intended X. He's able to go ahead, get on out of there. Does burn his flash in the process. Now ZionSpartan shows up. He gets damage on a Dyrus, which is important because Dyrus doesn't die to that. He dies to that big ultimate. ZionSpartan moves forward and kills Reginald. Now I want to show this in slow motion because ZionSpartan's got some moves. Check his cooldowns at the bottom left corner to see what he uses in order. It's going to be Shumpo into Bouncing Blades, into Sinister Steel, into Ultimate. And look how long he channels the Ultimate. Realize this is at 1/8 the speed of the game. So Shumpo, Bouncing Blades, Sinister Steel, and he channels the Ultimate for about half a second. Enough for Dyrus to get from like here to here. And I love that. I love that he's just going to blow it quickly, and the second he sees a movement and he has time to react, he cancels the Ultimate and moves forward. And that's something you can do with Katarina's Ultimate. It's so short cooldown where even if you think you might not get a full kill out of it, even if you're just going to blow a flash and have to chase afterwards, if you can use it, it is a low cooldown resource that provides so much DPS and forces reaction out of the enemy that it will almost always be worth it, even if it's just for pressure. Now, obviously, if you're going to die afterwards because they can just turn around and kill you with your ultimate down, don't. But that was a good example of how ZionSpartan's going to play Katarina this game. He's not going to go in front line. He's going to be using his ultimate more for cleanup. There's going to be, I think, one full ultimate this entire game. Everything else is going to be very quick, very brief pressure as the enemy tries to escape. Like right there, he could have used his ultimate, but I think he was just being annoying to the odd one. It was never going to be a kill. Never going to apply that much pressure. Odd one would just walk right out of that. And maybe Reginald would show up just in time to CC him. However, he gets a kill top lane. He gets an assist top lane. It's important that he got the damage on the Dyrus top lane because that gives him the reset on his skills. The QWE becomes accessible once again. And, well, he was useful. He really didn't do that much. That was cleanup. That was his team doing the damage and him kind of cleaning everything up. Also, he missed that ward, which is really funny because that ward's really hard to place. But he got it. He got something done, and that's important to remember. His top lane turret also goes down, which is bittersweet, because it means the enemy team got some gold, but this big creep wave will build up. He can go ahead and just kind of CS when it reaches the turret. Now, don't Mashpee is going to be super annoying by spamming his taunt and then making a really cool laser light show, which is not super annoying, but super cool. Now, I believe, yeah, there's a team fight coming out here. I want you to see ZionSpartan's movements. We're going to watch it again in slow motion. This is not the team fight I was thinking of. Whoops. But but it was back in, back out, back in, back out. He never goes for the risky ultimate. That's something people love to do. They love to just see 3 people go in full out and try to CC them. But I just want to highlight a couple specific moments. So the enemy team starts to engage. He's retreating. Ultimate lands. He still doesn't move forward till he sees a chance to go ahead and poke. He knows they're locked into a fight. Then he goes in. And does he really commit? No. He uses bouncing blades. He tries to get a Sinister Steel off while staying on the far back and just uses Shumpo defensively. He's not going aggressive because he knows he can't do anything. He knows that he might get some damage onto one person, and that's not going to be enough. Same thing here. It's like Nintendo decks get CC'd. He knows they're locked into a fight for at least a few seconds. He gets some poke. He gets out of there, and that's how Katarina can play. That's all in. It's not all in. It's poke in, poke out, poke in, poke out. You're fast. You're mobile. You get a huge move speed increase from UW. You have Shumpo to stay hopping around, being really, really obnoxious but fast, and that's important. You gotta realize that with your play. If you can commit. But for the most part, you have to play cautiously. You're not an initiator. You're not Morgana. You're not Cassiopeia. When you go in and you die, you miss a lot of DPS. Not because you're dead. That's part of it, but because a lot of your kit is based around getting some of that reset off. So getting the executes, getting the cleanup is going to be your biggest goal. This was super true of Katarina in the past. It's only kind of true of Katarina now. Like, you can still go for that full initiate if your team needs it. If your team needs for you to go in, face first, throw yourself at the wolves, get your ass kicked, but deal a lot of damage in the process, go for it. But of course, this only applies to some teams. Now, interrupts. Who has an interrupt on TSM? Reginald, but that's tied to his ultimate, so it's kind of tricky. Jace, that is tied to his hammer stance, so if you see him switch stances or you see him use his E, well, you can now use your ultimate. It's still kind of annoying. Leona has 2. Leona's going to be a huge pain for someone like Katarina. So when you do see those interrupt potentials, that's gonna affect whether you can go all in or not. If you see that they have a lot of interrupts, don't go all in pretty much ever. If you see they have very few, well, hopefully you have someone else who can start the fight for you, but it's still going to be effective. Now, same kind of fight style coming out from ZionSpartan. Goes in, goes out. He's looking for the setup. He's looking for the damage, that moment where he can really just get the DPS off. And he never commits. This is actually something I'm going to be a little critical on. He does have a moment, but here, same thing. He's going for the poke, going for the burst. He gets a bouncing blade on Dyrus, Sinister Steel, backs on out. And that's because he doesn't do anything for those few seconds. So it's like when you're in, you're trying to really just get out as fast as you possibly can until you get those resets. Same thing happens here. He's got Sinister Steel back up. He doesn't have Shumpo, he doesn't have Bouncing Blade. Dyrus hasn't died yet. He's about to, though. Oh wait, no, he doesn't die at the ultimate. Spartan gets a kill on Reginald. He could have tried to go forward a bit and channel a bit of DPS, but he decides to be safe in the end. I believe now. There we go. Here comes the dead Dyrus. And it's this really, really in and out playstyle. Now, this does require a front line for your team. This does mean that someone like Pixel, someone like Nintendo Dex, is going to be starting that fight. You can't really rely on yourself, and that's what's unfortunate about this, because no team's ever going to let you on your own start a fight by Shumpoing and Bouncing Blades, Sinister Steel, and getting out of there. Because if they ever do let you start that fight like that, well, you probably didn't need to try very hard to win the game anyways. Now, this is the moment where he goes for some damage. He does use the ultimate there. And what made that moment so special? Well, the interrupt was used. They locked down Takashi X there. They got the burst on, and that was his chance. That was finally his chance to do some damage. He didn't do very much. And that's because, well, he has a lot of gold to spend. They were in that fight for a long time. He has 900 gold, and he's not super damaging right now. He is finally ahead of Dyrus up in the top lane. But it was not. It was after a long-winded game, a lot of poking back and forth, and him getting a couple kills. So, how did ZionSpartan recover from his top lane? Well, he never really fell that far behind in the first place. He got pressured hard early on. He missed so much CS, was behind 20 very quickly. And then he got pressured some more with the gank up top lane, and then some more with the third gank up top. But he focused on getting the CS top lane, the ones he could. It's not always possible to get everything, but hey, if you're getting most of it, you should be okay at least. He roamed mid when he saw the opportunity, helped his team go for objectives, and now he's gone for kills. So It was a bit of movement on his part. It did require the death of Takashi X mid lane, but overall his goal is to just get something, to come back in. And if Takashi X dies, well, hey, that's a chance to get some CS. Really, he didn't lose the lane totally because he stayed focused on just being in the lane, being relevant, and being safe. Now, X Special here, rest in peace. ZionSpartan backs off when he gets exhausted, though. It's this mentality that is really weird on Katarina, and I really like to see it. Now, did you see that really cool play? Did you see ZionSpartan make the big moves? And then Darius actually almost got a kill on him in response. Now, I'm using Rewind a lot because ZionSpartan is someone, or Katarina is someone who, she's fast. She's very, very slick with her movements. So E, W, Q, E, W, N. He deals a DPS. Go ahead, gets to the side, uses the ultimate. Once he realized he's ignited, he doesn't really keep channeling it. It's not really worth it. He's kind of afraid of the L1 showing up. The L1 does exhaust him a second time, and overall his DPS was going to be heavily reduced. And it's the same mentality. It's like, well, his skills are on cooldown, he backs off. He backs off to this bush actually to try and set a trap, but there is a ward down. And then X Special, who did not die in that fight because, well, Nintendo Dex and Pixel don't really do that much damage. He turns around and goes for this sweet kill. I like this aggressive play. Flash in E, W, Q. X Special had time to get one stun off barely, if you saw that. And that's something important to remember about Katarina. When they changed her, she moves incredibly quickly now. Her skills are all very fast, very fluid, very just movement oriented. So when you do play Katarina, realize that it's not someone like Zed, for example. If you use Zed's ultimate, it takes a while to really get through. Cat's blinks, Cat's instinct. Cat will go somewhere in a heartbeat. It's not a rocket jump. All of her skills are like that, except Bouncing Blade has a very brief cast animation, where she kind of picks up the blade and throws it. Everything else, if you watch her use Sinister Steel, it's instant, it's fast, you don't stop moving, and you have to remember that. You're fluid. You are a liquid. You have to kind of move in and out of the seams of the fight. You got a leak on the floor and just cause everybody slip and trip and hit their heads. Please be careful on wet floors. Now, item builds. Item builds are weird on Katarina because you can kind of build anything. Obviously, you want to be more focused on AP. AD will scale with your skills a bit, still don't recommend it, but penetration build, I'd say, is her solid build. You go for Sword Shoes, Haunting Guys. If someone else in your team builds an Abyssal Scepter, that's awesome, but your goal is to kind of use your raw damage. And the raw damage Katarina has isn't really from her base skills. It's like Bouncing Blade will do 210 damage. Sinister Steel will do 180 damage. Like, not that much overall, but it does scale quite a bit when you factor in the resets. Also, I like this because it's just really annoying. The other one, I didn't know he blew Ignite there. That was a bad Ignite. Oh, ZionSpartan, you don't want to ignite someone when they have no chance of dying, and their team is there to back them up. But sure, her base damage is not very high, but you get a lot of casts, and that's going to be coming from the fact that you get the reset, and that is how ZionSpartan is playing. The reason penetration build works so much, the Haunting Guys into Abyssal Scepter with Sword Shoes, is because you get a lot of magic resist, a decent amount of HP from the Haunting Guys, and you're tanky, so you don't die quite as easily as most APs would. And that does cost you damage, but you have the reset, which comes from your tankiness, to make that all up. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's one of those cool things where it's like, yeah, you scale, but you scale differently. And that's something that makes Katarina really cool. You're going to keep dealing high DPS, but because you don't die. Very few characters are like that, especially when it comes to AP, where it's going to be like, yeah, you deal more damage because you have more damage. Now, when I said that ZionSpartan can go ahead, use that damage, or use ultimate just for damage, that's going to be the case right there. It was setting up a gank, as people just cannot land skill shots on Darius, but he waits for a very specific moment. Whoops. Okay. So I'm going to fast forward through the rest of the fight, but ZionSpartan looks for the aggression when he can. So here comes Darius. He is in rage stance, and he just doesn't even give him a chance to switch to hammer stance. It's very fast, very aggressive. He knows that if he switches to hammer stance and tries to escape, or tries to knock him back, that gives a chance for Pixel to set up the kill. So really, it's a weird thing where ZionSpartan initiated because he wanted to bait out the hammer stance. And if not, he would do a lot of damage with the ultimate because, well, Katarina hurts a lot. Weird to think about, huh? It's using the ultimate as bait. It does use a cooldown, and in the case of somebody like Jace, it's going to cost a hammer stance. It's going to cost a transition to a moveset that you may not want. You may not want to use a hammer stance, because guess what? Acceleration Gate gets you out of fights. Hammer stance, kind of. It knocks one guy away, not three. Now, he's got DFG. DFG, it has been nerfed at this point. It's still 20% of the damage, and this is an item that some people agree with, some people disagree with. He also follows it up with a Chain Vest, because go tankiness. Why would you want DFG on Katarina? Well, it's all about the reset. It's all about getting that first kill, that initial death, and DFG is going to help you do that. It's going to help you get the snowball going. As you can see, here he goes. Doesn't actually use a DFG because they weren't confidently going for that kill, but one DFG kill means he gets all his abilities back up, and that is the way ZionSpartan is playing her. It's about staying alive for long enough to use your abilities a second time, a third time. Just keep spamming them out, and your damage is going to be insane. And really, like, just to do some math, imagine 5 Sinister Steals, that's 1,000 damage right there. 5 Bouncing Blades, that's going to be another 1,000 damage. Like, that's actually a low ball. So it's 2,000 damage just from 2 skills, and that's all AoE. Now, obviously, that's a rough estimation, and if you get 5 kills, well, you don't need a 5th one, so it's only 4 kills that really matter. But the idea is you deal so much damage that it's going to be irrelevant. Like, you just stay alive and you maintain your DPS. I keep saying that, but I'm just reinforcing the point. Now, great disengage from TSM. Look at that sweet, sweet X special ultimate. ZionSpartan on the chase, on the move. Can he hunt down Reginald? He is really fast at 423 move speed, so the answer is yes. Now, unfortunately, he can't get the kill because of that Zhonya's, but that was awesome. That set up the perfect kill. And that's the teamwork and coordination that really sets up Katarina. Reginald was forced into a position where he could use Zhonya's to block Takashi X's ultimate, or he could use Zhonya's to not die at ZionSpartan. It wasn't one or the other. It was you die or you don't die, which is a really cool setup. Now, he's below 70% HP, so he doesn't have Initiator. He's not moving at 423, just 413 move speed. A little bit less, tiny bit less. But he's still fast, he's still mobile, his team is now pushing in, he's got Baron buff, he's regenerating quite a bit of HP. Now he's going to focus on poking it. And if you have Baron as Katarina, your damage skyrockets because it also scales your AD. You get AP and AD, so your ultimate gets an extra, I'd say, just looking at the damage, it's an extra 150, extra 300 damage on the ultimate? No, like 200. 50 or 150 of that is just from her attack damage. But attack damage scales really well on Katarina, but only on the ultimate and Sinister Steel. And Sinister Steel, it's not a great ratio, so you're not going to get that much advantage out of it normally, but it's cool then. Also, rest in peace, those creeps. But when you have Baron buff as Katarina, you can feel like the manliest man on campus. You can go where you want, you can beat up every nerd you see, take their lunch money, go to the vending machine, not even spend those quarters you stole from those nerds. You're just going to kick it hard and get your delicious, delicious Shasta. That's right, off-brand. But you have to still be safe. And this is kind of what it all boils down to. You go in, you go out, you stay safe, then you go in, you go out, you do it again, and you just become this awesome street sweeper, this awesome mop. You are a giant mop as Katarina. Also ZionSpartan, I think he had enough for his next item. No, he didn't. Oh, he bought a potion, that was it. So he's going for Zhonya's next. Zonya kind of reinforces the whole idea. It's this survival-focused mentality. Not every Katarina build is like this. Some people go for DFG, some people go for aggression. This is a very specific playstyle. I recommend you experiment. This is how I like Katarina. I played Hack Katarina where you go for Death Cap. It's effective, but not necessarily amazing. Now, Reginald gets pulled in, uses his ultimate, uses his flash. The only CC they have coming out of him is going to be a binding. So they push hard, they push aggressively. But you'll notice ZionSpartan hasn't necessarily done that much this game, or at least not in terms of flashiness, as Don't Mash Me. Forgot he missed that. I love seeing mistakes like that because they're not common, but when you see them, they're so embarrassing. But you know, Don't Mash Me's a great player, and that's just he's done incredibly well this game too. So whatever. But it's not flashy, but it doesn't need to be flashy. And people get this mindset they have to make the big plays. But ZionSpartan, he's not. So pulling on the odd one, Zion Spartan goes aggressive, still doesn't go in for the full initiate, actually gets CC'd with Special's ultimate, and now he backs off. He's still looking for his opportunity. He's not going to run away from the fight because he has no HP, but he is going to be extra cautious when he does go in. He, for example, avoiding that binding. Like, he's just going back and forth, looking for that opening. Can he find it? Going over the wall, just because over the wall, guess what? He can come out of nowhere and surprise them. Except TSM knows that, so they actually throw a bunch of skill shots over the wall, trying to pick him off. And it's the same idea, the same mentality. Look for the opening, look for the opening. Xpecial's initiating right there. Is that a chance for him to go in? Not really, not quite. Xpecial's effective, but he's not gonna, like, he can still interrupt him, and it doesn't really matter if Xpecial dies. He finally goes in and tries to pick off an assist on Xpecial, like just trying to take him out very quickly, and actually doesn't reset his Shumpo, because by the time he gets there, Xpecial's already dead. Domashri goes forward, like it's just looking for the opening. Right there, he finds it, he sees his chance, goes in, uses his ultimate, he knows there is no interrupt, there is no CC, he gets a full channel off, completely removes Reginald, completely removes Darius, I believe. Chaos goes down, he gets the reset, he gets the chase. Don't Mash Me does die, my cell phone does run out of battery, but that was just ZionSpartan looking for that big opening. And that is proper Katarina play. I slowed that down, but just watch how quick it is, watch how fast he moves throughout this fight once he does decide to fully commit, does decide to go in. Xpecial's dead, so there's no more interrupts besides Darius, and Darius is so low right now. Okay, boom. Actually, Pixel gets a kill, he moves in, he gets a kill, moves forward, gets a kill on Original, gets out. This is very quick, and actually he only picks up one kill, but he still, or two kills, but he still moved through that really quickly. He did his damage very fast, and there was no chance for the enemy team to react. Without the damage ZionSpartan did, even though they were really low, chances are TSM would have won that fight. And then they surrender because the game is effectively over. Takashi X TP'd in. So, GG, GG. Now, that was a very specific version of Katarina. That was Katarina focusing on the reset. Is that how you're going to play her? I'd recommend it. But there were two things going on in that game. A, staying alive top lane. How did he do it? He focused on himself. He played in a way very greedy. But he focused on just staying alive. He took golems. He used a health potion. The net gain was only 25 gold. But during that time, he wasn't going to get any CS top lane. He might have gotten pushed out of lane. And in doing so, in killing those golems, he got experience. And he got gold. He got something. And that's what you have to do when you're falling behind top lane, even mid lane. You got to go somewhere. If they can kill you outright, take the jungle, ask for help top lane, hope they don't freeze. If they can't kill you outright, well, pick up your scraps. Go to golem. Go to wraiths. Get something. When the creep wave starts heading back towards your tower, pick it up then. When you see your opportunity, go forth and CS. And don't push hard till you, like, unless the wave's underneath your tower, don't push back hard. You're never, like, they can always freeze. They can always lock you out. Now, team fights. Katarina, what did he do? Move in, move out, move in, move out. Look for a chance, look for an opportunity. Now, there was already a lot of frontline damage on that team, so him going for those channeled ultimates wasn't necessarily super important. It was important when he did do it, when he did get those ultimates off. It was pretty big. Usually securing enough damage for the rest of the team to get kills, but it was this very movement-oriented, very quick, very fast, and hard-to-catch Katarina play. Now, if you look at his kills, actually, he had 7 kills, 1 death. I'm looking at the stats right now. That 1 death, that was that long chase through top lane. Now, I love the defensive masteries. I love the move speed on Katarina. It's very mobile. And most AB carries aren't mobile. Usually it's somebody like Ahri, where you have to use the ultimate to really move around. Katarina, she has high base move speed. You can really apply movement speed points and the defensive mastery, even utility, but I wouldn't recommend utility because the first points don't really benefit her. But you can really apply those movement speed bonuses and move even faster. Because holy crap, when you're moving around 400 move speed, level 1, level 2, it's massive. Now, that's all for now. Adios, folks.